All right. Here we go, guys and gals. And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, drivers.
And we are back. The Loose Wheel podcast.
The
Yeah.
wheels be loose.
Yeah. A lot of loose wheels spinning in my brain.
So true.
And some housing. Those of you who do not know us, I'm Andrew. That's Ethan.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about some racing news. So let's get into the reviews. I actually said it right this time.
And now for last week's race reviews.
Yeah, but you lied to them because you said we were going to talk about news, and we're talking about reviews.
Well, this is still newsworthy.
Right, but you lied to them.
We'll talk about news later, but the whole thing is still newsworthy. So, technically, I'm right by not by default, but by
Technicality.
Technicality, yes. Anyway, Thermal Club Challenge happened for IndyCar, and I'm just gonna say it was terrible. I've seen a lot of things. Everyone's saying, "Oh, this is the way to fix it. Oh, this is the way to fix it." But here's my opinion. Let's get into what happened first. All right, so first lap happens, and Dixon hits Grosjean into turn one, spinning into VK and Lundgaard, and causes Will Power to run wide, ruining Dixon's, or did ruin Dixon's race because he had a drive-through penalty for avoidable contact. But you had ruined Power's race, ruined VK's and Grosjean's race. Grosjean shoved a safety official, so that's fun.
That's not good.
He was very angry like he normally is. But that was really all the action that happened. The order in the first heat was Blomqvist, McLaughlin, Newgarden, Lundgaard, Canapino, Herta. Missing out was Nolan Siegel. He drives the 18 now. Ferrucci, Power, Kirkwood, Stingray Robb, the 9 of Scott Dixon, Rinus VK, and Roman Grosjean. Some heavy hitters there. Your defending, or your champions, Power and not Rob, I'm an idiot, Power and Dixon. And then you have two up-and-coming young guys who've had wins with VK and Kirkwood, missing out, and then Roman Grosjean, who's also really notable. So you had a good amount of players that were knocked out. And then Heat 2 was Alex Palou, followed by Marcus Armstrong, his teammate, Ray Hall. Ericsson's not in the 8 anymore. It is, I can picture his face. Linus Lundqvist, I don't know, I couldn't think of that. You have Pietro Fittipaldi and Alexander Rossi making it in. Missing out were, you had the 5 of Pato Award, the 66 of Tom Blomqvist, the 6 of Callum Ilott, the 20 of Rasmussen, the 4 of Kiffin Simpson, the 28 of Marcus Ericsson, and the 51 of Colin Brown. So yeah, a couple other big hitters out. Not as many as in the first heat, but you had Pato and Ericsson missing the show, which was bad because I picked Pato. But yeah, really nothing happened in H2, the second heat. And then, but the main race, it was 2 10-lap segments followed by a chance to refuel in the middle and adjust things that you can adjust. So the first thing is they didn't show the layout near often enough because I was unfamiliar with the track. I Wikipedia doesn't have the track. So it might be best to like show the layout more often than not. Fox did that when they had Coda for the first time, which I liked then. So I don't know why NBC couldn't do that with this new track. So yeah, that was disappointing. That could have helped it a little bit. But in the first half, Colton Herta went as slow as he could to save tires. And he was running last, so he said, okay, I'm just going to go as slow as I can without getting lapped so I can save my tires. Worked out for him. The 30 car didn't have enough fuel, so he was disqualified. I don't know why. Like he didn't run out, so I don't know why they disqualified him. And the 15, his teammate, being Pietro Fittipaldi and Graham Rahal. Rahal had a stuck throttle, pitted and retired. Those both happened during the break, so it was kind of weird to see two retirements at that point. But the finishing order was Palou, McLaughlin, Rosenquist, Herta, whose strategy worked, gained him a lot of spots, Armstrong, the 8 of Lundqvist, Rossi, Newgard, Lundgaard, Canapino, and then Rahal and Fittipaldi. So what I would have done is I would have made it 3 30 laps, or 3 10-lap segments. You start off how they qualified, and then you invert the field, and then after the first segment, and then for your third segment, you take the average of each, and then that's how you do the order for the start of the third segment. I think that would have been interesting, and I also could, which was similar what they used to do for the NASCAR race back in the day, and I would also like them to with that I would have done one tire change, so that you have to be useful with your tires. Do a little strategy. Do you want to take your tires early, or do you want them to take them late? I would imagine most teams would take them late, but still, some opportunity for strategy to do something. A lot of people are complaining, saying how bad the race was. I'd rather have the race, even though it was so bad, because I'd rather have the race than a 6-week break in the schedule. Yeah. I think Colton Herta said for qualifying they should do standing start from pit out, single car qualifying, just see who can get around to start finish line the fastest. Wasn't his idea, but he was the first one to say it. And then he also said turn 1 to turn 6, there's a road that connects it, Joker lap, just as an interesting gimmick. And another interesting gimmick that he recommended, push to pass with no response from the following driver. So you push to pass can only be used to pass, not to defend. Not quite sure how that would work, but it's an interesting thought. Not really. The only other thing you can do is you can run a longer layout, but I think it would have been interesting if you could have done something. Needs to change. I think that's where everyone's coming from. And yeah,
you know what I would do?
What?
I just wouldn't do a exhibition race at a country club, but maybe that's just me.
I mean, yeah, I would rather have a full-on points race somewhere, but if you can't do that, yeah, I'd rather have that than have nothing. I guess that's a fair point. But yeah, with that being said, Ethan, do you want to talk about Formula One? What happened down under?
Yeah, I was thinking about responding to that in an Australian accent, I decided against it. You're welcome, everybody.
Yeah.
So, the race starts. It seems like a normal F1 race in the year 2024. Max Verstappen pulled away, but then all of a sudden Carlos Sainz passed him. So that's strange.
Mm-hmm.
And then not too long after, Max's back end just starts smoking. And what do you know? He's got to retire because everything's on fire. Well, his brakes are on fire.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, as Andrew tries to distract me, making
I was
me
just
lose,
responding to your message.
making me lose my place. Max DNF'd, and that is pretty crazy. That is the first time he DNF'd since Australia 2022. Way back in the, well, I mean, a few years back, which for an F1 driver to not DNF for that long, it's crazy. Like, I don't remember exactly what the number was, but it's over 30 races. Like, that's just wild.
I'd guess about 45.
Yeah, something
like that.
Something crazy. So, I mean, not only has Max been such an amazing driver, but the Red Bull has been so durable that it's allowed him to have all these crazy stats and break all these records. So,
Yeah.
this is really the first time that the Red Bull durability has...
And see you in Australia 2026 for when Max's next DNF comes.
Exactly. But yeah, after Max DNFs, that obviously opens the door. The next few laps were pretty crazy, pretty exciting as people were battling for positions. We were wondering, like, oh my god, what's going to happen with Max running away, or not running away, I should say, for the first time in a very long time. So, the Andrew wrote on our...
You go through the race. I'm gonna explain what I wrote.
Okay, but Andrew...
I do have an opinion.
Andrew
but
wrote...
It's not time for the opinion.
Wrote on our little sheet that we have where we have point by point. He wrote, nothing happens.
Nothing happened.
I disagree. There was midfield battles. There was good strategy calls. There's some bad strategy calls as well. McLaren not absolutely. I mean, Lando still got a podium. He finished third, but they kind of ruined his chance at a second place by pitting him late for the second time in just as many races. So that's unfortunate for him. We also have to talk about Yuki Tsunoda. He had an amazing race. The Haas's had an amazing race.
Double points.
Yeah, Daniel Ricciardo did not have an amazing race. Bad qualifying, not a great race. I mean, Yuki's really kind of wiping the floor with him to start out the season, which we'll talk about more later. But all that happened. Lando got into third. Charles got into second. Nice strategy calls there by Ferrari. Lewis also DNF'd. And then on the last lap, George Russell DNF'd as well. A crazy crash after... essentially, Fernando Alonso got blamed for the crash by the stewards and got a penalty because of it, because of his braking and actions into, I forget what the corner number is, but into a corner around Albert Park.
I think it's 6.
Might be. Around Albert Park, causing Russell to crash is what the steward said. I disagree. I don't think that... Yeah, I mean... It was a bit of a cheeky move from Fernando Alonso, but it wasn't... I don't see that move as anything illegal. It's just defensive driving. But he got a penalty for it, so he got bumped down a couple positions, lost a few points there. And George Russell wrecked which essentially ended the race under safety car, since it was the last lap, virtual safety car. Carlos Sainz won. Really nice drive for him. Just off of appendix surgery. Leclerc second. Nice drive after his first disappointing qualifying, and I think I saw earlier that was the first time he hasn't started on the front row in 8 races. So the first time in 8 races, he has a disappointing qualifying. It costs him a win. Just a bit unlucky for him. And then Lando Norris finishing ahead of his teammate, Australian Oscar Piastri. There was some controversy about like swapping Lando and Oscar, but Lando was just faster. I mean, he finished before the safety car was called. He was 12 seconds ahead of Piastri. He just had the pace, so that was the right call for the team to make.
Yeah. The reason I put 50 laps of boring, because there wasn't many. I believe the only real change in the podium was that position swap.
Just because there's not a change in the podium doesn't mean the entire race is boring, though. Like, it wasn't the most exciting race ever, for sure, but it was a decent race.
Well, there's passing in the midfield in every race. Like, I expect there to be passing in the midfield. Like, that's how...
Yeah, that doesn't make
works.
it boring, though. That just makes it average.
No, that's what I expect. I expect that. And there's, for me at least, I do want to see racing at the front.
Yeah, so does everyone.
Yeah, and I expect that.
But I don't think that equates boringness. You can enjoy the racing in other areas.
I'm not saying you can't enjoy it, but just for me, there wasn't much drama at the front, which is what I want to see.
I think there was
battles throughout the front.
I mean, Lando looked like he could be chasing down Charles for a little bit. Obviously, it didn't happen, but for a little bit, it looked like it.
But I didn't see that. But I expect there's going to be battles in the midfield, yes, but that I want to see battling for the win, battling for the top spots. There just quite frankly wasn't.
I got bad news for you, buddy. That's not been a thing in F1 for a minute.
Yeah, I know. So that's why it is boring to me as a racing fan. That's why I put 50-plus laps of boring. Now, granted, the start was interesting. Russell crashing was interesting. Good job. That, I will say, is interesting.
Good job for crashing.
Yeah. But there was battles in the midfield for IndyCar, and I said that. Everyone says that was boring. So, no one's saying, oh, that was just an average race. No, it was boring as heck. Nothing was happening at the front. Palou had a Max Verstappen drive. Like, bro dominated, led every lap of his heat, too.
I did not watch a single second of that race.
You didn't miss anything. So, yeah, I'm like, so that's, with all that being said, I do still think the Formula One race was the best race of the weekend, but they were all very garbage.
Yeah, well.
Which, with that being said, let's go into Circuit of the Americas. I don't have many notes for this, so this one will be quick. Actually, I want to talk about trucks and Xfinity first. Trucks, your boy, Heim won. It was Heim time. Connor Zilic was fast. He had a couple errors, but I see potential in this kid. I think he's gonna be. He's going to break.
I mean, he went crazy in qualifying.
I think he's gonna break. I think it's Jeff Gordon's record of most road course victories in the Cup Series. That's what I'm saying.
You think he's just gonna be like a road course god?
Well, that's where he's based in, road courses. He's talented everywhere. But the kid's great on road courses. And I can say kid because I'm older than him, which is not fun. But the kid is great on road courses. He dominated in qualifying that much. He probably passed the most cars on Sunday. He is still very young, very green. He's going to make errors like he did turn 1. He got caught in a spin. So yeah, he's going to have errors. With that being said, the kid's going to learn and grow, and I think he's going to be very great in the Cup Series. Might even be a future champion one day, but that's too early to tell. Also, Marco Andretti's rear end housing fell off. For those who don't know, that's you have your 2 wheels that are connected via piece of metal, and then there's a couple of pieces and parts on there. I'm not an expert, but that fell off. Mike Andretti drove the wheels off that thing, so we didn't have the Loose Wheel podcast. It was the Loose Wheels and Metals podcast. I guess that's what you can call it this week, because that's what happened. I've never seen anything like that before in racing. Closest I can, and I think it was the Toro Rosso one year in China, where the 2 wheels popped off at the exact same time. That's about as close as you can get.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was something weird. Xfinity.
I think that was just straight up a Mark Webber's Red Bull.
Oh, it might have been. I thought it was a Toro Rosso. I don't remember. But
I'm working off 5 hours of sleep. My brain's not working.
It was
a
Red Bull sponsored vehicle. With Xfinity, you had SVG and AJ Allmendinger battling out for the first beginning of the race. Kyle Larson and Ty Gibbs, they came up through the field who had penalties.
It was Buemi, Toro Rosso.
Sebastian Buemi, now Toyota driver in the WEC. But yeah, maybe I do know Wheel.
What do I know?
But yeah. And then they raced, and then it came down to the last stage. Larson decided to pit because he was fading back a little bit. And so there was a caution. AJ Allmendinger, he had to pit. Ty Gibbs, he had to pit. AJ Allmendinger also got penalized, so that took him really out of the equation. So that left a couple other guys with SVG up there. So on the restart, 2 laps to go, Austin Hill goes to the inside, bangs SVG up the track. So they make it back to the white, make it back to the stadium section, and then I see Larson's closing in. I'm sitting there. Larson's 2 seconds back, whatever. I say to myself, Kyle Larson's going to win this race, and I'm pretty sure those 2 are going to knock each other out of the way, because that's what just happened. And in the stadium section, SVG knocks Austin Hill out of the way, and that paved the way for Larson to squeeze on through there and get the win. And then SVG got a penalty for cutting the course. So yeah, wound up finishing like 20th or something. Yeah. Kyle Larson winning, as I noted on last week's podcast. I would have been surprised if Hill won, but yeah, I told you all to look out for Larson, Gibbs, Dinger, and a little bit of SVG. And yeah, that's what happened. But in the Cup Series, Stage 1, Byron Bell lead. Bell stays out, wins Stage 1. Bell and McDowell wind up going on this alternate 2-stop strategy compared to the 3-stop strategy. Spoiler alert, it didn't work, but Stage 2 happens. Bell, Byron, and Hamlin lead. Hamlin stays out to win Stage 2. Then McDowell loses power steering. And then Stage 3 happens. Chastain led, and then it turned over to Byron. But Trix decided to stay out for a while, so he led on a different strategy. Don't know why he was doing that. But yeah, Bella's closing, but Bella's kind of driving a little reckless. If the race would have been longer, Bell would have got to Byron, but Byron was the winner.
Just if it was a couple laps longer.
Yeah, I think about 5 to 8 laps longer, but yeah, that's what happened. Ethan, do you want to talk about penalties? Because you were
Penalties?
and for NASCAR.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Because you were confused by that.
I was confused by that. The inconsistencies in the NASCAR track limit penalties that were dished out this weekend were, like I said, inconsistent.
They really weren't.
They were, though. I mean, they decided to only police one section of the track.
Well,
That's-
everyone knew that. That's the thing. So
I mean, this picture or this tweet that I was showing you, like, on corner cutting on the left of the inside corner of the final stages of the S's.
I believe that's turn. I think that's turn 7 or 8, somewhere around there.
Where there's grass on the other side of the curb, there's like a red strip and then there's grass. That's considered corner cutting to be on that like little red strip.
Mm-hmm.
But then
For you guys.
no, they called this.
They did not call that.
Yeah, they did.
No, wait, let me see this. On the left?
Sorry, I got it backwards. Yeah, they called this one
Yeah.
on I don't know, I have no idea what turn that is.
That's turn 4, I think, in the S's.
The start of the S's, second turn of the S's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They called that.
That's illegal.
How? It's the same exact thing as there.
Because
what is the difference?
All right. Here's the difference: is that they don't want to police. They don't want to police. They don't want to have corner cutting rules. That's the thing. But they said, okay, we have what they did originally was put the sausage curbs up.
Mm-hmm.
They saw that destroyed too many race cars. They didn't like how
Well,
it
then
worked.
don't go on it. That's literally the point.
Yeah, but it destroyed the cars too aggressively. Like, they felt that the penalty was too much compared to the crime. Okay?
No, just don't go off the track.
But that's what they thought. And which is fine. And in future races, they had the sausage curbs come up off the track. So that's something that they don't want to do anymore. Period. So what they do there is, because there's no grass there, they have to police it with the F1 system. And then they don't police everywhere else because it's self-policing. Is you can't.
How is it self-policing though? Because it's not. There is no policing at all. Drivers run so wide off the track. They're not like. I mean, you know what I mean. You watch the race.
Yeah.
Drivers drive off the track to a crazy extent. What's the policing? There's no self-policing.
Well, it's all self-policing in that is you can run as wide as you want. You aren't going to necessarily gain a lot of time. There's racetrack.
You do though, because if you don't have to brake to make the corner and you could just gas it and keep your foot down going around, that's.
You look at turn 1.
That's fast. I'm not talking about turn 1. I'm talking about whatever the third to second to last corner is the penultimate corner.
The penultimate corner, okay.
Everyone runs wide there. No one's getting the apex of that corner.
Yeah, it's fine. There's no need to police it. Like, if you're gonna run wide, it's fine. Like,
when we talked about this, you called me an elitist for saying that I think that cars should stay on the track. I think that
if it's paved, it's for racing. Boom.
but it's
End
not,
of discussion.
It's not the track, though.
It's part of the track. It's pavement, paved surface equals track.
Because there's the track, and then there's curbs on each side, or a white line, or something to differentiate the end of the track. And then beyond that, there's more asphalt as a runoff. And then they just drive on that runoff. And NASCAR doesn't police that, but they decide to police the S's. And you have to police the S's. I understand that. But it's just it's so inconsistent.
It's very consistent.
If they only want to do self-policing, then yeah, put in those sausage curves, but they don't. So some way or another it needs to be policed. So why police it with that system, with F1 system, if you're not going to do that on the rest of the track? If for the rest of the track you're just going to have literal physical track, like be extended track limits, I'll call them, then you got to put in those sausage curves or whatever. I don't see how you can have both, because it's either you have a system where you can't go beyond the white line of the track, or you don't. I don't see how you can have it both ways.
Well, you're getting the best of both worlds kind of, because the system of the GPS or whatever, I don't know exactly what the system is that Formula 1 uses, but with that
we interrupt your regular broadcasting to tell you that according to Jeff Passan, Jordan Montgomery has signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Holy carp. That's a move. I like it. I'm very happy. With all that being said, back to this, you get the best of both worlds, because you don't want to be tearing up cars up. Getting better, keeping the cars on the track, getting better racing. With more cars on the track, you're going to get better racing. That's just how it is, until you put cars on the track that cars can barely move, which in this case you aren't going to get there with 40 cars. So you take that, you get the best of both worlds, because you don't want to be tearing up cars up, and you get to get F1 system, and you get to get the racing good, because you have people taking multiple lines, because sometimes guys take a shallower line into the corner with a not really big arc and run right, or some guys take a deeper line and not use as much runoff, which allows for things like the crossover to happen easier. Some side-by-side racing. So, with all that being said, yeah, I like what we have. It's very good. It works. A lot of people, I think everyone in NASCAR likes it. They enjoy it. Yeah, that's what everyone in NASCAR's thoughts are.
I just think that I just think you got to race on the racetrack. But I get it.
That is racetrack.
That's where we have a disagreement. We have a fundamental disagreement, so.
Now, if I think either of us are designing a racetrack, we're going to, or at least me, I'm not putting runoff on that racetrack. I'm going to throw grass and kitty litter, sandboxes, whatever you want to call the dirt, the beach, to just not have guys go careening into the wall. But yeah, that's how I think racetracks need to be designed. With that being said, I know at least for Formula 1 standards, I don't know, there isn't a clear-cut NASCAR standard, but for Formula 1 standards, it's, you have to have a certain amount of runoff in a certain amount of places, which is what it is. With all that being said, I think COTA was a surprisingly calm race. No cautions, and plea for cause, and get rid of the stage cautions. It was good last year. Please. It's good. We had a good thing going.
And now for the news.
Anyway, going into the news. NASCAR acquires Winston-Salem's historic Bowman Gray Stadium, which not congruent, I guess is the right word, with the name. It is not founded by Alex Bowman and Gray Gaulding. It was long before them. So, I think with that having it, I think it with their racing season, I think there's a possibility of the All-Star race moving there from North Wilkesboro, and I would expect North Wilkesboro to get a date, or for a points race. Bowman Gray Stadium is I think the maddest madhouse in NASCAR. You've seen that one clip of that one guy just going haywire and another guy with their cars, like the late model cars. That was an interesting moment. But yeah, a lot of tempers flare there, a lot of short tracks, beating, banging, a lot of angry people leave that place. And I think it would be great for an all-star race. Stir up the pot, stir up the beef. Yeah, I think it would go great there. I think it would be a banger. And with being a great race and a lot of banging cars, banging walls and stuff. Anyway, MBM Motorsports compares a pair of additional cup runs at North Wilkesboro and Coca-Cola 600 with Timmy Hill and David Starr each. The team scaled back their Xfinity program, but they're expanding their cup program, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I expect this team to run last in each event. The legend Dylan secures a 5-race cup schedule in the cog number 16. A lot of rumors were saying, oh yeah, this is going to be his full-time ride. Turns out it was his part-time ride. So yeah, he'll probably have 5 forgettable races. Denny Hamlin has revealed that he would like to drive for 2311 Racing one day, but it's not clear whether that would be full-time or part-time. I would expect this to be part-time. I don't think he'd run full-time rather. Just because good relationship at Joe Gibbs, wouldn't expect that to end, but we said that about Kyle Busch, and look where he is now. And does NASCAR have Long Beach in its sights, possibly wanting to buy the rights to the event as the event promoter kind of passed away, which is not good. And that group is selling the stake, and NASCAR's interested in it, and they might want the race to be there. That being said, I don't think it will happen. Could be a replacement for Chicago once that ends. But yeah, I would, as long as the IndyCar race gets to stay there. Because that's a huge race for them. I'd rather not
it would probably
tear up their grounds. You know. Ethan, you want to talk now?
Yeah. Just waffle for a minute, and then I will start talking. We'll cut
I'll talk about sports cars real quick. Sebastian Vettel completed his Porsche test, and Peugeot reveals updated 9x8 hypercar with a wing. So rip the wingless bird, and now it has a wing. So yeah, everyone mildly disliked that, but whatever you need to do to go faster, I guess. Which, will it still act like it's French? Who knows? Find out at Imola, I think. Ethan, are you ready now? I'm done talking.
No. Sorry.
No?
Well, talk about this, or did you just talk about that?
I just talked about that.
I'm sorry.
Bro's not paying attention on his own podcast.
Well,
people in the comment sections flame him
Dude, just
Bro.
cut this out. You'll see the audio is down, and you'll cut it.
No. Anyway, there are rumors in the F1 world swirling
All right.
around
So,
the weather.
no. Ayumu Iwasa is going to replace Daniel Ricciardo in FP1 at Suzuka for the Japanese Grand Prix. So RB is getting their youth driver. I have no idea what F1 wants to call it, but F1 teams have to put a young driver in the car for a certain amount of practice sessions a year. I believe it's 2. So they're getting that out of the way with Iwasa at Suzuka taking over for Ricardo. So just a little bit of news there. That kind of ties into the next little bit of news, because if that's true, Ricardo will be starting off the weekend on the back foot. Apparently, according to the New Zealand Herald, Daniel Ricciardo has been given an ultimatum by Helmut Marko. So, if he's starting off on, the back foot in Suzuka, that's going to be tough, because according to the New Zealand Herald, essentially, Ricciardo has just a couple races to turn things around before Marko will swap Ricciardo for Liam Lawson. Again, according to the New Zealand Herald, take it for what you will. But that is what they're reporting. And
There's probably some truth to that, knowing Red Bull.
there
And
probably
Helmut
is.
Marko.
Um,
It might not have happened yet, but it might be happening soon.
is it a little bit interesting that it's the New Zealand Herald reporting it and Liam Lawson is a Kiwi himself? Maybe, but also maybe that, that's why they know this information. Who knows? But this story also ties into the next story, because this is a quote from the article that the New Zealand Herald put up. The Herald also understands Lawson is seen internally as Red Bull's best option to partner world champion Max Verstappen long-term, with current teammate Sergio Perez's contract to expire at the end of the 2024 season. Now that is really interesting, because there's been some stuff going around, mostly since Sainz's win, that Sainz and Red Bull could be a partnership in 2025. Christian Horner named Sainz as a potential driver for that second seat, and really it makes sense. Carlos Sainz is a great driver. We know he's a great driver. Andrew loves Carlos Sainz more than the world. So
That would be a one elite driver pairing, to say the least.
Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen, I don't know how that pairing would work out, if it would be that much better than Perez. Not because I think that those two are on the same level. I think that Sainz is worlds better than Perez. But just Max is so dominant. I don't know how the driving pairing would work out, but it is really interesting. And if Sainz can be closer to Max, that's great for him as well. Sainz knows the Red Bull team. He was a Toro Rosso driver. He was teammates with Verstappen at Toro Rosso. So they know each other. The team knows him. He knows the team. It could happen. And if you ask me, if it's between Lawson and Sainz, I think Sainz is far and away the clear choice. And I think that they would choose Sainz over Lawson, even if Lawson replaces Ricciardo after the next 2 races and has an amazing season. I still think they would go Sainz because Sainz is proven, more proven.
Yeah, the signs to me point to Sainz.
Exactly.
Yeah, Loose Pun podcast continues.
And now for next week's race previews.
Now into the previews, with that being Easter weekend. Most series are off this weekend, but not NASCAR, because NASCAR a few years ago said Bristol Dirt and Easter need to be on the same weekend. That was a good idea. But for Richmond being on Easter weekend, that's asking for poorness in terms of fan attendance and viewership. But something's got to go there, I think. And I saw some driver in an early season poll from The Athletic, an anonymous driver said, I'd rather be doing anything than going to Richmond. That place is like a certain spiritual place that rhymes with well. With that being said, Richmond is happening, Cup and Xfinity. Not much to preview. First, Ty Dillon's 5 races in the 16. Kaz Grala, I do believe, is in the 15. I think. If my memory serves me. Kaz Grala is there. In his 25 race stint. Again, we do not have any open cars this weekend. Next one, to my knowledge, will be at Talladega. I think we're gonna get some open cars there. Don't expect any from Martinsville, Texas, but who knows? But yeah, with that being said, a couple of notable drivers for Xfinity, because it's a dash for cash. That means no Cup drivers. That means Andrew likes that. With that,
We both like that.
Yeah. That being said, in the cars that have had Cup drivers, Taylor Gray is making his first start in the 19 for Joe Gibbs, pairing with Alric Almirola in the 20 car. No Hendrick 17 this week. But you also have Bubba Pollard making his series debut for Junior Motorsports. And he is going, I think he'll be good, but a short track ace. He's won a lot of big short track late model races. A long list on his Wikipedia page if you want to read that. He did run 5 ARCA races over his career. All of them, I do believe, at being all of them at big tracks. Actually, 3 of them are big tracks, but yeah, he just came off of a 3rd place at 5 Flags in ARCA East, and a car that's not the greatest. So that's saying something. Yeah. With that being said.
And now for next week's race picks.
Picks are still lead, no surprises there. 70 points, Ethan 58, Guess 53.
Had a good week though.
Yes, you had a good weekend compared to me. Lost one on the Guess. You got 5 points for Heim. Guess got 5 for Larson and Xfinity. You got 1 point for Chastain. You got 1 point for Herta. You got in the F2 sprint. You got 1 for Maloney, and so did the Guest. You got 1 for Hauger in the main race. For the F1 podium.
Yeah, no one expected
that. Ethan and I got 1 point for Leclerc 3rd. Guys got 5 for Leclerc 2nd. the one weekend I don't pick Sainz, he does well. So I would have swapped him for Leclerc anyway. So it doesn't change anything really.
Yeah, nothing.
With that being said, my lead is down to 12 points, and 17 of the guest. So yeah.
Yeah.
The guest this week, shout out Evan if you're listening. I hope you are. He went with Riley Herbst for Xfinity. Ethan, your turn.
For Xfinity, I went with Chandler Smith. He won there last year, I believe.
He might have. I don't remember.
I believe he won there last year. So he's good there. So maybe he'll be good there again.
Yeah, I'm going.
Sound logic, in my opinion.
I'm going with Justin Allgaier. Always has been good at the short tracks. Very consistent driver in general. Simple pick there. Not overthinking it. I guess picked his favorite driver, or at least one of his favorites, Martin Truex Jr. Always fast short tracks.
Yeah.
Won his first short tracks race there in, I believe, 2019, when it was a night race. But yeah. Ethan, what about you?
Well, you and me both picked Denny Hamlin.
Spoiling.
Yeah, we both picked Denny Hamlin. Same reasoning.
Short track ace.
And especially Richmond.
Yeah.
He is very good at Richmond.
Yeah.
Very, very good there.
I hopefully will be picking up 5 points on you, 10 on the guests this week.
Yeah.
If all goes right for me.
Well, and for me, I mean, you went conservative this week, picking Hamlin.
Mm-hmm.
So it's my turn now to say that you copied me.
Yeah.
And you, I mean, you're doing the smart thing by playing it conservative. The best that I can do is just close it by 5, but there would still be even if everything goes right for me, there would still be, a 7-point gap?
Yeah.
So. We do have a race on our hand, though. On our hands.
Yeah, it's close. We just gonna preview the next couple of weeks. We have 6 opportunities to get points. Next week, 3 the week after, and then we have a big week, a solid 10 after that, and then 4, and then 5. And then the sheet needs to be updated after that. So that's still a month's worth of picks. So yeah, that's what we got going for us. A lot can change in that time, but also a lot could stay the same. Once again, Ethan, go Diamondbacks.
Yeah, that's I'm gonna turn this into a baseball podcast for a second. I'm sorry for being a little absent during the second half of the podcast, but I was looking at stats and thinking, and here's my quick thoughts. This is a podcast that we film in Phoenix, Arizona. Andrew is a Diamondbacks fan.
Yeah, and we are a solid
2 days. By the time this will be out on YouTube the day before opening day. By the time this is out on Blaze Radio online, opening day will maybe have passed. We'll see.
Who knows?
But, I'm a Giants fan. You're a Diamondbacks fan. In my mind, I still think that any team between the Padres, the Giants, and the Diamondbacks could get second.
Padres,
but
they don't have the firepower.
They have the firepower. They don't have the depth. If things go bad for them, they're kind of out of it. But I think this does give the Diamondbacks the edge. But I also think that is potentially the worst thing that could happen to the Diamondbacks, because if the Diamondbacks finish second in the National League West, they're probably the 5th seeded team in the playoffs, because you have the 3 division winners, and then the Phillies are going to be ahead of the Diamondbacks, in my mind.
That's not a guarantee.
Okay, but even if it's Diamondbacks 4, Phillies 5, they're still facing each other.
Yeah, it's a huge difference going to the Banker Chase field.
It is. But in my mind, I'm fairly confident in saying that the Phillies will be ahead, And not only that, so I think the Phillies will finish ahead. But even if they don't, Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola in a 2-to-win, 2-to-advance type series like the wild card series is, I'm taking the Phillies to win that series 99 times out of 100. Not that the Diamondbacks couldn't win that series, but that's just how I'm thinking about it.
In the bank, I would tend to agree, but Chase Field, I would expect that to be different. And if it goes to a third pitcher, who's their third? Ranger Suarez?
I mean, kind of depends how the season plays out. I mean, could be Ranger, but it's probably going to be, well, Taijuan Walker. If he has a good season, he could go third in that.
Heck, I'd take a...
Could be like Mick Abel. Kind of depends.
Yeah, I'd rather take Brandon
Spencer
Pfaadt over any of those guys. And right now...
I'm not taking Brandon Pfaadt over those guys.
And right now, Brandon Pfaadt is technically our fifth best starting pitcher. With all that being said, it's going to be interesting, going to be close. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
To me, it looked like he actually lost the wheel.
The wheel for Ross Chastain is still and perfect.
Wheel on the track.
Did you leave the wheel loose?
You picked the fine time to leave me loose, wheel.